Alright guys, got a few questions on Facebook asking how to set up diets and for me to write people diets. First thing is, if someone writes you a diet and says eat these foods at this time, X amount of meals, certain amount of protein, carbs, fat at each meal, don't listen to them. So in steps, determine calories, how many calories you need for maintenance. So easiest way to do that, the most economical way to do that is just to track what you're eating for say 2 weeks and see what the scale does. A rule of thumb is about 30, if you have no idea of what to eat, 30 to 35 times your body weight by 30 to 35, that's in kilos. And that'll be a rough starting point. Stick with that for about 2 weeks, see what your weight does. If it drops, then you obviously need more. If it jumps up too high, you'll need a bit less calories to maintain your body weight. Another thing is guys who say that they put an X, like a number, saying that this is my maintenance, and it's some really specific, like 2873 calories is my maintenance. That's going to vary day to day, and especially with younger guys. This video is mainly for guys like 18 to say 22, 23, probably a bit older, but mainly around my age. They don't realize how much activity impacts that. So, for example, I had a guy who was asking me questions saying that his weight he was on X amount of calories and he was not gaining weight, which was perfect because he didn't want it. He wanted to say lean gains, which is great. Then he said he all of a sudden didn't change anything. He didn't change his training. He just started all of a sudden gaining weight on the same amount of calories. So I asked him, like, what's changed in your life? Has anything, activity-wise? He said, well, I went from doing, I was playing soccer. Soccer season's ended now. I said, well, what were you doing in soccer season? He's like, well, I was training 2-3 times a week, and those sessions would last about 2 hours running around, and then I had game day on like a Saturday. So it's like they don't take that into account. That's going to impact how many calories you need. So if you're doing stuff like that, and all of a sudden you add it in, you're going to have to change that number. After you've determined how many calories you need to divide it into protein, carbs, fats. So first start with protein. It's varying what you need, and all the numbers that I give are really basic, going to vary for everyone. They probably won't be right for most people, and things like age, sex, body composition, all that plays a big part. But typically you want about 1.8 to 2.2 grams per kilo of body weight of protein. That'll probably cover all your bases. You may benefit from more if you're in a deficit, if you're dieting. We don't really know yet. Eric Helms is hopefully going to help us find out. But that number will probably have you, alright, you can probably stick to the lower end of that number if you're in a surplus, stick to the higher end if you're in a deficit. Once you've got that number, times it by 4, that's how many calories you're getting from protein. So write that number down. After that, go set your fat. The two essential really are protein and fat. And when I say essential, it doesn't mean that you don't need carbs. Carbs are very important for performance. So once you got that, go to your fats. Fats can be anywhere from about 0.75 to a gram per kilogram of body weight. Again, going to vary hugely between sex and age. The older guys will often need a bit more than the younger guys. We can get away with a bit lower fat intakes, sort of like 15% calories. I've seen people go lower and they feel fine. Older guys, they tend to struggle with lower calories. Lower calories coming from fat. So about 0.75 to 1 gram, and about 15 to 25, even 30%. I wouldn't go really as high as 30. About 15 to 25% of calories coming from fat. So once you found your fat number, times that by 9 and write that down. That's going to be calories coming from fat. So add the two numbers together, your calories coming from protein and calories coming from fat, and the number that you established in the beginning of your maintenance, take that and minus the two other numbers. So maintenance calories minus calories coming from protein and calories coming from fat. And then you'll have whatever numbers left, divide that by 4, and that's how many grams of carbs you need. That's really the basics of setting macros up for a beginner. This is like raw beginner. If you've never tracked macros before, you don't know what macros are. Stick to that, you'll be fine. Meal timing's massive debate at the moment. There's there's not really a right or wrong answer. I just don't think most people now will recommend that, you know, the 2 hours of protein doesn't really, it's not needed. It's not gonna, probably not gonna harm you, we don't know yet. But it's eat when you get hungry, or I'd say probably try split protein up as evenly as you can throughout the day. Protein is kind of most people think carbs around your workout, which is it's good, but they think, you know, you got to refill glycogen post-workout. Post-workout, probably it's more important to stick with protein. Protein is more essential. That's what you really need post-workout. Carbs, you're going to refill your glycogen either way, unless you're training that muscle again sort of in the same day or within 24 hours, and you really will deplete glycogen. You don't really need carbs post-workout. Pre-workout, there's debate. I personally like training fasted. I did very well training fasted, but now that I'm in deficit and I'm dieting down, I try to eat before I go to gym, and I do notice that carbs in me before I train does help. That said, don't go have a massive meal like half an hour before you train, because then you'll hear guys that throw up, and it's probably because you just had like 3 Big Macs and you went to go train legs, you know, 20 minutes later. So meal timing is really irrelevant. Try to split your protein up into sort of 3 or 4. I'd say probably 3 would be minimum. You could get away with 2, but 3 would be optimal. And you can take it as high as you want, but there's no extra benefit to it. Sources, it's really another if it fits your macros, balanced dieting, whatever you want to call it, topic. Don't stick with, you know, if I'm eating oatmeal, there's guys who will say, all I do is eat clean, but I'm still gaining weight. Well, it doesn't matter how clean you eat. If you still eat more calories than you burn, you're going to gain weight. I personally prefer to eat foods that I enjoy. It helps me stick to the diet. It helps me to mentally not feel like I am dieting. There are times though where I do get really hungry, so I will stick to the bro foods and, you know, oatmeal, sweet potato, that sort of stuff. But for the most part, eat the foods you enjoy, and try to get enough fiber. 25 grams would be a minimum for most guys, especially if you're on a higher protein diet. It has a role in satiety. There's a ton of benefits from fiber. Micronutrients, multivitamins are sort of like everyone thinks, you know, you do or you don't need them. The guys who say you don't need them and will say, you know, if you take a multivitamin, you're cheating yourself, the way I see it is kind of like an insurance policy, is if your diet wasn't 100% that day, you didn't get your, you know, fruit, veggies, didn't eat clean, it's there to catch. It's like a safety net. But they're going to debate you and say, well, if you can't get it from your diet, then you got to fix your diet, which is true. You should be eating clean, and I recommend probably about 1 or 2 pieces of fruit a day and about 2 or 3 servings of vegetables. But there's no harm in taking a multivitamin. So the debate saying that, you know, taking a multivitamin is stupid, and it's not necessary that you need one, but it's a safety net. It's like if you get in a car accident, you have insurance. You can say I drive as safely as I can, but it's a safety net. I think that pretty much covers all of it. If you have any other questions, feel free to message me, email me, and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching.